How often do we say that we trust God, yet live as if the provision depends on us? We pray for daily bread, but stress over tomorrow. We long for peace, yet chase after things that never satisfy. What if the key to contentment isn't striving for more, but learning to fully receive what God gives us daily? Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Emily. I'm a certified Christian life and business coach. You may also notice a new background. I've got a new office to come to you from, and I'm so excited that you're here. If you love entrepreneurship, faith-based living, relatable life, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that we can stay connected, and I cannot wait to get to know you. So we are talking about if you've ever felt restless. Hello, we all have. And like no matter what you do, you are always feeling like you're striving, always waiting, always wondering if you're ever going to be enough, if it will ever be enough, if life will ever be enough. Today, we are diving into what it means to live in the daily provision of God, to trust that His grace, His guidance, and His blessings are enough for today. When Jesus taught us to pray, He said, "Give us this day our daily bread," Matthew 6:11. But this prayer isn't just about physical provision. It's about trusting God for everything that we need, everything spiritually and emotionally, and yes, physically, that is part of our daily life. Think about the Israelites in the wilderness. God provided manna daily. He told them, don't even try. When they did, He didn't feed them the next day. He built in them a need of faith and to exercise the practice of having faith. You can read about that in Exodus chapter 16. They couldn't store it up. It was just enough for today, and they had to trust that the next day they woke up, there would be manna, there would be their food, their provision for the day. And isn't that how faith works? We want to see the whole plan, but God calls us to trust Him one step at a time, to believe that what He gives us today is enough. So here's a challenge. What if we truly believed that what God has given us right now is enough? How would you change your thoughts? How would you change your gratitude? How would it change your contentment? Isaiah 5:7 says, "But the Lord helps me, therefore I have not been disgraced. Therefore I have set my face like a flint, and I know that I shall not be put to shame." So much of our daily stress comes from trying to control things we are never meant to carry. But when we anchor ourselves in faith, when we practice surrender, we gain something even better than control. We gain peace. The next time that you feel anxious about what's ahead, pause and remind yourself, God is already in my tomorrow. My job is to trust Him today. The world is constantly telling us that we need more success, more money, more security, but Jesus calls us to less. Less worry, less striving, less distraction, and more of Him. We live in an age of comparison where it's easy to feel like we're falling behind, but contentment cannot exist where comparison lives. I know this to be so true. In this line of business, being online, there are constant reminders that I'm falling short, I'm not as good as the next person, I don't have as much to offer, my services aren't as robust, I'm not as expert in that field. But Satan's tactic is to plant discontentment in our hearts, to pick at our insecurities, to make us feel that what we have isn't enough. And that's because it keeps us stuck. It keeps us complacent, full of fear and doubt, and not working towards building out the life that God has called us to serve Him, to proclaim His name, to bring glory to Him. If we're constantly feeling like we're incapable of doing that, we're not doing anything for the Lord. But here's the truth. If we don't have it now, we don't need it now. Our worth isn't found in achievements, wealth, or approval. Our worth is already established in God's love for us. That's where our security lies. And when we truly live in that truth, we can finally rest. Have you ever thought about what kind of legacy you're going to leave this world? We chase goals, build businesses, and dream big dreams. But at the end of our lives, what will matter most? The greatest legacy we leave is a life aligned with God, a heart that found peace in His provision, a spirit that trusted Him daily, a life lived with gratitude instead of striving. That type of legacy builds out intentional choices, intentional words, intentional relationships, and you leave a part of what God has taught you. You've given that wisdom to others. That supersedes any physical material item of this world. Instead of asking, what do I need to achieve? Ask, how can I steward what God has already given me to steward? Discontentment is one of Satan's most powerful weapons. If he can keep you longing for someday, he can keep you from living today. Okay, did you catch that? He can keep you from living today by longing for someday. If you are constantly chasing the next big thing, ask yourself, is this coming from faith or is this coming from fear? The enemy thrives when we are distracted, when we are restless, when we are anxious. But when we are grounded in the truth of God's daily provision, we become untouchable. Like, you become one of those people that you meet and you're just like, God, they got it, right? Like, it's clicking on all cylinders for them. I love being around that person. Every time I see that person, I have several people like this in my life. I cannot wait to be in their presence. Friend, you don't need more. You need to trust that what God has given you today is enough. If you find yourself constantly waiting for someday when you'll have more time, more clarity, more confidence, let me challenge you to stop waiting and start living. God's daily bread is enough right here, right now. I had a small note of this that I posted on my Substack and it went viral. And I think because people just resonate. We don't consider how much of our day is spent longing for more, feeling discontent, living in comparison hustleitis, and just never feeling like you're measuring up. And that keeps us driven, but not in a God-centered way. And so nothing fills that void. Only Christ can, only his presence, only his understanding, only leading a life that is Christ-like and bears the image of him on our heart, on our mind, on our actions, and on our life. That is what our legacy is. And when we trust in his daily provision, we're able to make choices to have those types of relationships that truly make an impact and influence them, ourselves, and our community in such a positive way, and actually lend ourselves to fulfilling the purpose that we feel called to. So all of us have this longing in our heart that truly, ultimately will never be satisfied until we are in heaven with our Creator. But while we're here, our focus should be trying to do what we can to pursue God first and trusting and having obedient faith and taking actions, not being stuck because of our own ego, our own pride, our own capabilities, the own limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves or what in comparison to others. That is holding you back. And if you can trust in God's daily provision and stewarding well what he's put in front of you today, you actually feel so much more fulfilled. You feel purposeful. You feel excited. You get this energy inside of you that creates this momentum to keep going, to keep trying new things, to not being afraid to fail, to putting yourself out there and taking those obedient steps in faith. If this message has resonated with you today, I would love for you, number one, to share it out and get some momentum going on this so we can be kingdom builders together. And I also want to invite you to this new community group that I've been praying over launching for 3 years now. It's called the Bold Life Collective. It is a faith-driven community that we're going to dig deeper into biblical mindset and living out a life that's intentional, that's bold for Christ, and just taking obedient steps and pursuing what God has called us to steward in the season that we're in. So if you're feeling like you are stuck, if you feel like you have been stuck in over analysis paralysis, if you feel like you've been procrastinating, putting something off, or you just feel like I have a hunger to produce, but I don't know what I'm producing or what I'm doing, this community is for you. The doors are open now, and I want you to click below this video and get in there. And if you're listening on your podcast app, the show notes will have a link to the community group, and I expect to see you in there. So remember, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Bye for now.